Hello everyone, I'm Umemoto and a master student at Nagoya University in Japan. I will talk about evaluation of team defense positioning by computing counterfactuals using StatsBomb 360 data. First, I would like to ask you, what should your team have done during defense in football? This question is one of the most important for players and coaches. For example, you can two figures. These figures are defenders' positionings where the on-ball player is looking for a passer. With the positionings in the figure on the right, we can see that the two attackers are offside and unlikely to score. However, with the positionings on the right, we can see the two attackers are onside and have a high chance of scoring. Therefore, we must develop a method to apply to find the optimal position. Off-ball performance analysis, such as in defense, includes the following. I'll explain OBSO on which this study is based later. However, all of these use expensive data containing all positional information on all players. It is unclear if we used these techniques when the positional data of players is incomplete, such as many cases open data. So we must develop a method to apply such techniques to incomplete location data. Several performance analyses used incomplete player location data. However, about defenders, the methods are limited because defending events are more difficult to define than attacking events. So it is necessary to develop another method to evaluate team defense by applying the evaluation method of attackers. Okay, well, we propose two methods. The first is EF-OBSO, event and freeze frame-based OBSO. This method may allow us to calculate OBSO even with incomplete location data by considering the more critical situations in football. The second is DRSO, defensive response to scoring opportunities. This method used EF-OBSO described above to search for defenders' optimal positionings using counterfactuals. These methodologies will make it possible to calculate OBSO even with any data and enable everyone to analyze football tactics. Incidentally, what is OBSO? OBSO, off-ball scoring opportunity, is to express the probability of whether an off-ball player can score a goal in the next event. You can see the figures, the range of probabilities in dark red. The advantage that we can evaluate off-ball attackers, interpret the model, and predict scores using all players' information. However, the disadvantage that it is only for complete location data, only for attackers, and only for what happened. Okay, we proposed EF-OBSO. This method is to calculate OBSO even with event and freeze frame data, including location data without coordinates for some players and velocities for all players. The critical solution is that only calculating OBSO for events in the attacking third. The advantage is that we can consider information on more players, especially the defensive goalkeeper. In freeze frame data based on broadcast periods, we can consider the stills near the goal to show more players than other scenes. And offside event, as the defending goalkeeper was often in the still. Second, we can fix players' velocity vectors. When playing in the attacking third, most players are aware of the directions to the goal so that we can set the vectors towards the goal. Thus, the attacking third is an area of increased scoring opportunities, and we can consider dangerous situations for defenders due to increased conceding opportunities. So it is essential to focus on this area. Okay, the diagram shows the flow of calculation and verification for EFO-BSO. First, we calculated EFO-BSO for each game using event and preprocessed event and 360 data. After this calculation, we created the ground truth and calculated squared errors. First, we restricted the verification scenes to shooting ones because OBSO is a quantitative representation of scoring opportunities, and this method is based on this. Next, we judged whether the player is a shooter. We set the ground truth for shooters to 1 or 0, depending on whether the event was a goal. For other attackers, we set the ground truth to 0. We used these results for each player to verify RMSE. First, for all attackers, we calculated RMSE and for all of shooting events and the mean and the standard deviation by the number of all of shooting events. Next, we verified RMSE for scorers and non-scorers. We first calculated RMSE for each team and the statistics by the number of teams. In this study, the teams used in the verification were 10 teams listed above. Next, we calculated RMSE for each game and the statistics by the number of games, which was 180 games. We carried out the verification for verifying speed conditions. When calculating OBSO, we need to use player speed, which were not available in this data. So we need to verify them and set the conditions. First, we set the speeds of all players is 0.0. Next, varying the speeds of actor and defending goalkeepers depending on the event. And we set the other players' speeds to 0.0, 4.0, 4.5, and 5.0 meter per second. Here are the verification results. Condition 5 was the best for all attackers and scorers, while condition 2 was the best for non-scorers. Since the mean of RMSE was the lowest, we decided to calculate DRSO method under condition 5. Next, we introduced DRSO method. This method is to evaluate defenders' positionings with EFO-BSO using counterfactuals. The solution to this is that we found a grid lattice point where a defender would have reduced the max EFO-BSO. This advantage is that we can understand the optimal positioning for each defender and interpret the model because this is also based on OBSO. Okay, to explain the DRSO algorithm, first, we extracted the closest defender to the point of maximum EFO-BSO value and the grids where this defender was. Next, we assumed that the defender would have been for each of 4 lattice points of this grid. Third, we calculated EFO-BSO and its maximum values for each point under this assumption. Fourth, we considered the point that took the lowest of the 4 and the original value as the defender's optimal position. Fifth, we evaluated the difference between that minimum value and the original one. Here, we defined diff value as the minimum value minus the original one. In this case, the difference diff is equal to minus 0.024. Okay. Sixth, we perform these operations on the second and third closest defenders to the point of the maximum EF of SO. On the seventh, we average difference calculated concerning 3 defenders for evaluation. Okay, this diagram shows the flow of evaluation of team defense with DRSO. First, we average these results for each defense team in the evaluation. And next, we evaluate the team defense in 2 ways. First, we compare the total number of concessions. Next, we compare between 2 seasons. Okay, first, showing the relationship with diff and the total number of concessions per team. The horizontal axis represents the total number of concessions against the other 9 teams, while the vertical axis represents average diff per defense teams. However, it is better that with the fewer concessions, so the diff value should be lower as the total number of concessions increased. Therefore, we need additional verification for parameters selected in this study. Next, we show diff difference between the 2021-22 and 2022-23 seasons. Yeah, the figure shows horizontal axis represents teams, and the vertical axis average diff per team defense event for each season. And the blue area represents the 2021-22 season, and the orange area represents 2022-23 season. Using this DRSO method, we may be able to interpret improvements or deterioration of team defenses. Okay, in conclusion, we proposed 2 methods. The first is EF OBSO. This method may be able to compute OBSO even with incomplete data by limiting the range of computation. The second is DRSO. This method may be able to compute the defender's optimal positioning using counterfactuals. Okay, finally, we introduced feature works. The first is to compare with the case of using complete location data. As we verified this study with incomplete location data, so it is necessary to compare and verify the results with those using complete data. The second is to verify the parameters. We set the parameters in this study, such as speed. However, we set these artificially, so it is necessary to verify them. The third is to improve the DRSO algorithm. In this study, we used grid lattice points to define players' counterfactual position without checking if these are realistically attainable. So it is necessary to improve this method. Here are the differences. Thank you so much.